Alright, so this is episode 2 of season 3. I forget what episode it really is consecutively.
Okay.
I'm here with Kris Langley, who's a speech therapist.
Mm-hmm. Public and private.
Public and private.
Across all sectors.
Woman around town.
All right.
And we're going to talk about comedy and the boundaries of comedy.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was something else.
What did you think it was?
I thought it was more about like censorship versus like free speech or something like that. I didn't know it was about the balance of comedy, but I can roll with that. That's fine.
Well, I think that's the same thing.
Well,
to a degree.
not really. Well,
yours is more open.
Yeah, mine's more open. Yeah, because I think I completely agree with you when it's in the bounds of comedy. Like in a comedy, like if someone pays to go see a comedy show, to me it doesn't matter like what someone talks about. It's their choice, right? You can.
No, what if they don't? What about comedy just in social settings?
Oh, okay. So you're saying bounds of comedy in general. So yours is wide open too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Here we go. Ding, ding.
All right. Now that we have the rules.
Yeah, the rules of what's happening.
Did you ever see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
No.
Oh, and there's this great scene where there's this huge guy, and Butch and Sundance have been gone from the game for a while, and he's kind of become in charge, and they come back and he's in charge. He's huge. And Butch is like, being challenged for him being the leader of the gang, and they decide to have a knife fight. And Sundance says on his horse, and Butch goes up to the big guy and says, wait, before, and this guy's huge, he's just gonna clobber a bunch. And Butch is like, wait, before we get into this, what are the rules? And the guy's like, what rules in a knife fight? And Butch just kicks him in the balls as hard as he can. He's like, well, if there's no rules, someone say go. And Sundance goes, 1, 2, 3, go. And he just clocks him and knocks him out.
There you go. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a perfect example.
That was great.
All right. So, Butch, how do you want to begin? Like where do you want to start? It's a vast territory. I mean, I can speak about how this got started.
Okay.
Okay. So we were together many months ago. I don't know when it was, the fall or something. And I saw something posted on your Facebook page. And it's somebody, either you had done it or someone you know had done it, and said, Greg's so gay, la 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 la.
Right.
So then I asked on the Facebook post, is this derogatory or whatever word I use in that vein? And then you had said, oh, well, no, we were just playing around. And then I had said, well, I'm the liaison for the Gay Straight Alliance at my school, and we have, anti-hate speech. So in a public school setting, if you say that's so gay, it's considered slanderous or, hate speech, because you're not saying you're so homosexual, and if you are saying you're homosexual, you're saying it meaning you're stupid, you're ridiculous, you're weird. So when you substitute that word for somebody who's identifying as a person who has rights like everybody, then we consider that not appropriate, not okay. So that's where I was coming from, but then you were saying about censorship and whatnot, so then I think that's how this star got to be born. So is that backstory? That seems accurate? Yeah. Yeah.
And definitely, like, if I say, oh, that's gay, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. That is, I'm not saying, wow, that's really cool.
Right.
I'm saying it in a slanderous manner.
Right.
And there is an element of history, perhaps, to the moment of that word. Uh-huh. That is giving power to the slanderous element. Mm-hmm. However, I am not literally calling my son gay when I go, you're gay, what the fuck, And I'm not literally saying homosexuals or homosexuality is less than anything else.
Right, but why would you say you're so gay instead of saying you're so stupid? Or you're weird? Or you're being dumb? Why would you use the word gay instead of saying you're being stupid?
Probably because there's an edge to it, and part of the banter is to have an edge.
Right. So that's why we're saying and I'm saying we for the group that I'm representing and all these kids and families and everything, is that that's not a substitute. That shouldn't be a substitute in the general population of using the term. Like, that's not okay to have that as a substitute. Just like you wouldn't put any other group like that. It's not a substitute.
It's unique unto itself.
What do you mean unique?
Every word, I believe, has uniqueness.
Right, but why not say stupid if you're saying you're being stupid? Why not just say you're being stupid? Why would you say you're being gay? I mean, you're saying like if somebody's being miserly, you're saying you're being a Jew.
Being a kike.
Or yeah, but I'm just saying like in certain settings it's not okay to say that kind of thing. Like if that was at school, we wouldn't allow that to be at school, because in the public arena we're trying to support these kids in their development. We have so many bullying and so many kids get jumped. Just like a couple weeks ago a kid got jumped. So it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't disagree that it can be said, but I think that like in certain forums it's not okay, because it's these young minds are trying to figure out what's okay, what's not okay. That's just where I was coming from.
Right. I just don't think that we know what's okay and what's not okay. I think that so much of human history has been someone who believes that they know what's right and wrong, and they make regulations and rules and laws based on that belief, and the rigidity of it becomes part of the problem.
What about if it's evolving? I mean, things are born and die all the time, right? What used to be okay, segregation is now not okay. You know, things change. Gay marriage wasn't allowed, now it is allowed. So there's certain things that there's the fluidity and the growth that comes along with things. When you know more, you do better. When you have more knowledge, you make changes. So in my mind, I don't see it so much as rigid, but being informed. Like if I know that this is a word that now we say, oh, this creates confusion or harm in young minds as they're developing and trying to find their identity, then I would say, okay, well, maybe this isn't an appropriate thing to say anymore. I used to say the N-word everywhere, and now people don't say that.
But I think it's more a representation of the pain within a person. It's not the word. It's not the exterior. Mm-hmm. It's like, I can't think of a word that sets me off. And the worst slang word I could think of that has to do with who I am really would be like crackety ass kike bastard. But I'm not really a bastard. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I know cracker for a white person, but it's not stinging.
No, but it has to be with something that you really identify as. Like what if somebody said you're a liar, or like, because you're not a lying person, or what? It has to really be something that you identify with.
But part of the identification is your belief and your struggle with acceptance. So to me, it's more powerful to help people be empowered.
So what would you, as a leader of this GSA, what would you do if kids, middle school kids, come up to you and they're crying and they're upset and they're saying these words to me?
Well, like let's say they said,
what would you say?
Right. So let's say they come up crying, and they say, you know, this kid just said, "That's so gay. You're gay," and now I'm crying, and I said, well, are you gay? And if the truth is, yeah.
Maybe they're not.
Maybe they're not.
Maybe they're family members.
So then why? So what is the pain there? Like, that's what I mean. If the more we're okay with what is, the less pain in our life.
I understand that. And at the same time, I think that for myself, I feel a moral obligation to kind of protect the underdog, if you will, or, you know, these are words that are being used in a negative way. So, especially for a movement that's really trying to gain some civil rights, you know, it's kind of a tenuous time. Maybe in 50 years' time it doesn't matter. Maybe that isn't even said anymore. But for now, it's kind of a real tender space, and we're trying to do so much education and so much advocacy, and so it seems that there could be, not that you have to be completely PC about it, but just that there's more sensitivity around, like, who you say it to or where you say it or something like that. Like in a public school, I'm not going to go around saying that's okay, just like I also don't drop F-bombs at work, right? Because I'm seen as someone who's an adult, right? So I'm modeling behavior that's appropriate. Even if they say the F word right in front of me, I'm not supposed to say it back.
Right, but I think there's an element of this hierarchy of right and wrong. Mm-hmm. And if you say fuck, you're a lesser person. You're lowbrow. It doesn't show academic prowess. It doesn't, you know, it's bad. It's wrong. Even some people, it's evil. And that gets real crazy, I think. Like, who fucking cares? Let it be. Like, so I really like the Lenny Bruce bit about words. And his hope is that we live where words no longer hurt. There's no longer a child crying because of a word. Because we, just as people, have evolved to the point where we know they're a word. It's just a word. We've taken the sting out because...
But if words are just words, then that takes away poetry, that takes away writing, that takes away speeches, that takes away comedy. I mean, words aren't just words. Words are powerful, and words have meaning, and words have shades of meaning, and words have meaning at certain times when they don't have meanings at other times. You know, when I was growing up, words were more powerful than now. Sometimes kids say things now that have significant meaning, and I don't know what they're even talking about. So I think it makes a difference, right? And I don't believe fuck should be banned from anywhere. I mean, I say it all the time. I'm overeducated. And that doesn't, I don't take it as, you know, I don't have any class or anything. But I don't say it in front of my students. So I just, my point is just that there's a time and a place to say certain things and not say certain things. That's all I'm saying, is like, you can say, Jonah, don't be gay, in your own house or in your own, wherever your confines, where you're, wherever in nature.
Here's, I think, with Jonah, part of my communication with him is that there are loaded words. And you might get into trouble with those words out in the world. And if you're ready for that, if you're ready for the heat, and I have a great example, if you want to hear it, of when I got into trouble.
Sure. So
there's this comedian that, he's up in Santa Rosa area, and he has one of my favorite jokes, and he said, one of his favorite words is the word cunt, because usually if he says that word, one shows up, you know, within 10 minutes or something. It's a very loaded word, I found out. And then there's more to that joke. But I said it once at hanging out with people I trust, and, you know, we were in a meeting, and someone got really upset when I said that word. Just set her off. And I knew it. I could feel like, okay, that went too far. And I apologized. Felt bad. I probably won't say it again in her presence.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I wasn't bad.
No, I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not saying you're bad at all. That's my point. I think we agree more than we know. But my point is that the word isn't bad, and the person who says it isn't necessarily bad, but it's the intention and it's the environment. Like, what is your intention when you're saying it, and where's the environment?
Right,
You're
but
saying you have
here's
to use. I think there's such a thing as filters. You gotta
but here's
find a
part of what
filter.
I believe, that if you're holding, like you said, the underdog, advocating for the underdog, in that choice, you are empowering the train of thought of an underdog.
Empowering the train of thought of an underdog, meaning
you are accepting and recognizing the weakness of that individual instead of seeing the strength of that individual.
I see it the opposite. I see, like, when someone says, oh, that basketball team was the underdog, I think that the coach sees the strengths and believes in the strengths of those people and takes them to where they go, even though society's expectations of them were that they were below performing. That's how I see it. When I say I'm for the underdog, I mean that I can see their strengths and I want to pull them out of what people are seeing them as.
Okay, but so the finished process of that, are they getting hurt by a word anymore?
Probably, if it's derogatory.
Really?
Yeah, just because you have confidence and strength of character doesn't mean that you don't get injured by an insult.
True, but that's part of what I'm saying. The insult doesn't have anything really to do with the word.
I don't think my goal in life is to become impervious to insult. It's to just be a human being with integrity, that can kind of know how to traffic different environments. But it doesn't mean that I'm like wanting to not feel anything no matter what anyone says.
What does impervious to an insult mean? Or let's go a step further. What do you envision is the reality of never being hurt, never being insulted?
That's what I'm saying. I don't see that happening.
No, but why not?
I don't know. I think that our psyches are too complex, and I think the wounding is deep, no matter how much work we do. And I think that the fluctuations of our psycho-emotional nature have holes in them. And I think that no matter how confident I can feel, no matter how strong I can feel, that sometime, some way, some word, some person, something has an impact. And I don't think that makes me lesser than or weak than or whatever, weaker than. It's just I'm being human, and I'm sensitive to the fact that we all have these kind of complex landscapes within us, and that there's some things in our society and in our humanity that are sensitive topics or sensitive words to certain cultures, and I'm not going to go around and say those because I feel like I have a right, like, in their presence. I'm going to say them if I want to say them in certain environments, but I'm not going to just say I can say this wherever I want and however I want, and if you can't deal with it, then you're weak somehow and you're not developed. I just don't take that stance. It's not me. So
you believe it's impossible to be a human being who's never insulted?
Impossible? I don't think I would go. I don't think I do like the nevers, forevers, impossibles, always. Like, I don't do those kind of things. But I think to a high degree, statistically probably to a high degree, that I don't think that someone would have in their lifetime a place of being completely not feeling when it comes to an insult. I think everybody's vulnerable to feeling insulted.
But you're saying that you believe there's a probability of being a human being who's not insulted ever.
Yeah, there's a probability. But it's also a lesser probability than the probability of people being insulted. So as a public servant and as as a teacher and someone who's working with children and families and taking a role in this, gay straight alliance and promoting equality and, social justice, then I err on the side of the larger piece that most people would feel insulted by certain words, especially when they're 11, 12, 13, 14. And they're finding themselves, and there are all these messages coming at them, and...
But you're saying there's a choice.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's not a choice.
Why would you choose the end result being a person who's insulted in life over being a person who's not insulted in life?
I don't look at it that way. We're looking at things, I guess, on the opposite side. I don't look at it as me being insulted. I think I'm looking at it as me being sensitive to people in my environment. I'm not looking at it as being insulted. Just
earlier, when I presented the potential of living life without ever being insulted, you said that's not really practical.
I don't think it's realistic. Does it happen? Yes, I'm sure it happens somewhere. I'm sure there are people that exist that I don't know of that are never insulted by anything.
So why not hold that as the goal, and whatever is experienced in reality is acknowledged, but that's the goal.
That can be the goal. That's fine. We could say, let's pretend that's the goal.
Not pretend.
I'm going to have to pretend because it doesn't exist.
But what you just said.
Let's just say it's a goal. Okay, let's just say it's a goal. And yet, the reality of what I'm living is that I need to serve as somebody who's modeling this. I mean, not need to. I mean, I do. This is what I believe in life. However, I'm just saying this role that I have as a liaison, I'm not at this goal end of don't be insulted, it's just a word. That's not what my role is. My role is to advocate for kids using the appropriate word doesn't cause other kids to feel pain. Those aren't the only words, and it's just against the gay community. I mean, we use, like, you can't use racial slurs. I mean, there's all kinds of words you can't use in a public school setting.
Can you use doorknob?
Yeah, because it's not full of meaning.
But you can't say fucking before it.
They say it all the time in school.
You fucking doorknob.
They say it all the time, and yet, we'll write them up after a while if they're directing it.
But do you see, like I see, that by holding the goal of being a human being who's never insulted, you're bringing light to the situation and being hurt now. And I'm not saying blow it off. I'm not saying, it's just a word, because the reality is, okay, you're hurt. That's real. However, there is a light in this reality of being a person who is no longer hurt by that.
Are you talking about non-dualism? Are you like in the non-dualistic philosophy? Because the duality of there is bad, there is bad in the world, there is, negativity, and I believe that it's my job to be positive. I'm negative a lot, but it's also my job to be positive as a teacher and as a human, right? And to impart those values and teach those values of how to communicate positively. So,
if life is forever, eternally, to be bad and good,
right,
then who cares? Why put one over the other? Because we're always going to have both.
Because it's called civilization. We live in society, a civilized society. If it'd be Lord of the Flies, it'd be well, quote unquote, it'd be Lord of the Flies. I mean, I know we've got Donald Trump and everything. I just gave him free airtime right there.
Yep. It's all right.
Anyway,
by the time this airs, he might be out.
Right, he'll probably be out. Actually, I think he will be out by June.
I don't know.
That's my prediction.
This will air, let's see, April 11th.
So.
So yes, I am non-duality. That's my goal, in the sense that everyone I meet, including myself, our choice being happy over unhappy, we want to be happy.
Of course.
To have hope in life, joy.
Of course.
Love. So of course you say, like, yeah, that's...
Of course.
So, yes, I'm not good, and I believe it is possible. I believe it is a possibility to live in that manner.
Part of having a joyful world is knowing how to get along with other people. And I think it's important for people to be informed about being kind to others and what that entails. I can still say, Greg, you're a fucking idiot, right? But in certain places, I wouldn't say that if I was thinking it. You know, like, they don't say that to Barack Obama to his face, necessarily, right? That's for what we can see. Even the crazy media doesn't show that, right? So I think that's my point, is that there's a time and a place, whether it's all Maya, it's all illusion, but still we have a duty to inform each other of what positive interaction would be like.
But you are attempting to choose the right place and the right time, and you can do that for yourself. You can't do it for others.
In a school I can.
Well, that's a real grown-up adult piece of shit attitude.
Right. So, but you don't work in a public school for a reason. You wouldn't function there, maybe. But
probably not. And I'm not a real advocate for public schools, because there's an element of, and I understand.
Should be a debate about public school, not about
public school.
Right.
No,
so,
but that's
intense to say that. There's a lot of people who could never afford it to do anything else.
No,
that's really. I mean, that's kind of.
Was that the boundary? Did we reach one of your personal boundaries?
No, I mean, I just think that's insensitive. I mean, there's a lot of people who they can't afford it. It sounds like white privilege. I mean, there's so many families.
What I don't like about public school is it is a system, and part of what you're saying, that attitude of I can choose it. I'm the adult in a environment of kids, and I do know what's better. And there's this big system that is unable, because there are so many participants, the students, the teachers, and the administration, that it can't slow down when it's not fitting for an individual. And I'm experiencing that in my life with one of my children, who, when we have continually reached out to the school and it is unable to slow down and hear us and really give energy and thought to, okay, what can we all do to help this child? There is no time for that. There's no space for that. In fact, when we first went to the school, in their mission statement, one of its, this is at the very beginning, before our child was going to start the school, so they have that preliminary thing in the summertime, get to know us. And in their mission statement, it said, I forget exactly, but part of it was for the emotional health of the child. And so I asked the principal, in the group, like, what does this mean to you? And she blew me off. And she's like, well, and I said, well, it's in your mission statement, so you must have, they've changed their mission statement since. It's no longer in there. That's what I don't like about public school. Mm-hmm. Because there is a righteousness that will not be moved that I believe is unhealthy.
I agree that public school has its flaws, for sure. I've been in public school, my entire education, 12 years. And then I've been working in it for 15 years. So I do see there's like major flaws. However, there's a lot of things that public schools get blamed for, where we do so much for the kids and nobody ever sees it, nobody ever really talks about it, nothing ever really happens, and it only gets, public schools just get talked negatively about. And I understand why, but the people who are talking negatively about public schools are usually the people who can afford to homeschool, afford meaning someone can stay home, or they can pay for private school. So that's, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's not a perfect system. But I still think that it's an environment that is responsible for feeding kids. It's responsible for as much as we sometimes don't like it, cultivating the psycho-emotional health of them, because it's not anywhere else, or it is there but they show different behaviors at school than they do at home, which is classic. So in that vein, we're not trying to control anybody. We're constantly reworking. I can speak for my school, which I love, and my school district, which is okay. You know, it's a big district with a lot of issues, but they're doing the best they can. But my school site itself is amazing. Principal, amazing. Counselors, amazing. Teachers, amazing. And we all work really hard every day to try to meet those needs. It's not a private school. The teacher-student ratio is higher. Right. There's a lot of issues with ESL and learning disabilities that don't happen at affluent schools or don't happen in private schools. So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of English as a second language. There's a lot of issues that we don't like. We don't like all the testing. We don't like, we don't necessarily like the rigors put upon us either. However, people that are in that system are there to try to do better in a box, right? We're in a box. Let's make this box as awesome as it can be. So part of being as awesome as you can in a box is knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it, to who's in the box with you. So if I'm in Mill Valley, my words are going to be different than if I'm in Actos Middle School.
So going back earlier, you asked if I was advocating for this group, the lesbian,
GSA.
gay...
It's Gay Straight Alliance.
Gay Straight Alliance. Perhaps, an idea that came to me is Scott Caparo, who's a local comedian, and he's gay, very funny, pretty and edgy, some raw stuff. Bringing that in, I don't know if he personally could be there.
That would be a good idea. We just had presenters, and it was really impactful for the kids.
But to see comedy, because part of my love of comedy is we take our dark selves and we bring it out into the light and we laugh at it, and in doing so it's taking the venom out, it's disempowering our evil, for lack of a better word.
Right. And I don't think the kids would have a problem with comedy, because in people's, I'm just going to speak from my mind, but I'll just make a generalization whether it's true or not true, but I believe that comedy for people is kind of, it's a moment. It's a cognitive moment after cognitive moment, and they don't it takes the chains off, right? And then they can laugh and they can think and they can say and they can do whatever they want, because it's just one moment after the next in this environment that they're in. Even if it was in a classroom, in a school, although we probably wouldn't be able to show certain things because that's just the way that it is.
Right.
Like rated R movies, you can't get in if you're... It's just kind of one of the constraints of society, right? Like, it's following the law. Like, we don't drive on the one side, we drive on the other side. It's just like the organization of our society.
Yeah, but I know you and I are in agreement that not all laws are meant to be followed.
Of course. So my point is that I think if these kids were watching something like that, like even from this
Scott Caparo.
Yeah. That they would laugh, maybe. Right? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming.
Right.
However, in the hallway with kids, general population, we still say, please don't say that word.
So I think that it's more recognized that the bully in whatever environment is, like, I forget who said it, but back, like this, in slavery in the United States, it was as wounding to the people who were slave owners as it was to the slaves. Like, it's a deep wound.
I don't think so.
That's real. And I find that through...
You think it was as bad for the slave owners as it was for the slaves?
The wound, the people, that's the thing. Like, the bully who is bullying that's coming from a wounded place.
I get that. So I understand what you're saying, and I get it. Like, in the cosmic scheme of things, that these are two wounded people, and they share the wound.
So if the bully is seeing like this gay comedian and some raw, funny stuff about being gay and that lifestyle, that, you know, elements of that lifestyle, etc., there may be some release there. And now he's or she is not so prone to bully because the fear or whatever was creating that kind of chaos is no longer at least so loaded that it is coming out in a hurtful fashion.
Or it reinforces their belief because their family believes it, their friends believe it, their environment believes it, so it could reinforce it. This is tricky territory, and as educators, we're mindful of this trickiness, which is we have 1,100 kids in the building, and everyone is unique, and all of them have complex lives, like we all have complex lives with our wounding and whatnot. And we have to create those boundaries so that the better portion of individuals feels protected. Because our number one job is to help kids feel safe at school. It's the number one job. Safe. You're safe. And then you're educated. If you're not feeling safe, you can't be educated. Right? So the bully has to be punished. The bully has to go. We have these things called restorative circles that we do. And they have conversations. And they share. And they express their feelings and whatnot. You know, whether it's a small group with just the counselors or it's a classroom.
Have you seen a bully shift and let go of that aspect of being a bully through these processes?
I haven't been in a lot of restorative circles myself because I don't have a traditional classroom, but I know that my students, I have a student who was involved in an incident last week or the week before last, and you know, consequences were given. And just Thursday I spoke with him and we had a conversation about it, and you know, there's not a lot of shifting going on. It's just so entrenched. I mean, his family circumstances, his neighborhood, his feelings of, you know, going through puberty and all the hormones that are surging through create a lot of action that he can't control or doesn't know how to control yet, which is what we spoke about. So our job is to say, okay, this is your reality. Let us help you get resourced. Here are some strategies you can use. Here's some communication that will help you. And by the way, this is what we say is appropriate in this environment, and this is what is not appropriate. When they're at home, whatever. But in the educational environment, these are the parameters, just like comedy has boundaries, or maybe it doesn't have boundaries. The boundaries are no boundaries. But in school, the boundaries are this and this and this. And safety is number one. And if we have to put it way out here, which is what you're saying is like too much policing, but in our mind it's expansive to be inclusive. So we're trying to be inclusive, and I'm just keeping it to the school setting because that's, in any other area in life, I think we're in agreement with that. We kind of live similarly, but I have this role that I have to take in this environment, and I take a lot of pride in caretaking, you know, and being someone who looks after young minds and hearts and their development. So that's where I'm coming from. What else?
I can't think of anything else. You know any jokes?
No, I don't think so. I've never been really good with jokes. I laugh at jokes, but I'm not really good at remembering and telling them.
Oh, you don't have any?
I'm good at sharing on Facebook. I can share. That's how I share the jokes.
Share a meme.
Share a meme. Memes are really happening these days. So many memes going out with those politics.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything else.
Nothing else, huh? I just want to apologize on behalf of public education.
That's about time. I've waited 50
that your
years.
child is not being seen and heard in the way that she needs to be, because I know how that is.
Or he.
Huh?
Could be he.
I thought you said it was she. No?
I said it was
maybe because I know
one of
it's...
us, so.
Oh, it could be he, right? Yeah, he or she.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. And good for you for putting some faith in the public school system, even though you don't want to. It's a good risk.
Like, my faith is in humanity, really.
Right.
And we're human beings,
Right.
and we've created these systems and things going on.
Right.
We've created capitalism, we've created
Socialism.
but we live in a capitalistic environment.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, I heard this great song riding my bike today, and I forget the title, but the chorus is, now I'm going to butcher that too, but in essence she's saying, like, don't come at me telling me about your riches, give me your love, because if you don't have love, you don't have anything.
True.
Yeah. That just hit me today.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
I agree.
So like bringing it back around, there's an element, Jonah and I, we go back and forth, just like cracking on each other and seeing, and it keeps getting worse and worse and like more gross, more crude, more raw, raunchy. And there's a lot of love in that, I think, between the two of us.
Mm-hmm. It's your bonding. It's your male bonding.
It's male bonding.
Totally get it.
And when we first started, I would, let them know, like, you do this out there, and there may be some parents who say, you can't be friends with my child anymore, because it will freak them out.
Right,
but
filters.
I'm not one of those. And sometimes you don't know, like when I was at that meeting, and I said that joke, and it just was not.
I don't like that word either.
I've learned that there's a lot of women. It just is like, it's like the N word, like you say. It's just we'll say the C word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't like it, and that's a good thing. Like things. I think they get used up, or they get figured out, or people get tired of them. Like I think there's a natural evolution in our vocabulary. I don't go around saying "dost thou bringeth hither" anymore, right? So I think there's a certain attrition to.
That reminds me, when I was growing up,
words.
I asked my dad, because kids were starting to crack at school, and I asked my dad for some cracks from him growing up, like hoping like I'd get some new ones and come to school, and they were so outdated. They were so like, he said, like, you've eaten the apple core and all. I was like, really? Like, I'm gonna go to school with that? That's not gonna work.
I said to some kid, I was talking about somebody who was kind of hip in the 80s or whatever, or 90s or something, and I said, oh, they would say that's so fat, PHAT, fat, and they're like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? Like, okay, let's just get back to what we're doing here. Like, seriously, social studies or language arts curriculum was more interesting than me saying fat.
Well, so I hope there's a time where we've evolved where that C word isn't so empowered with whatever it is that is so visceral in its sting.
I think that I think the words reflect our evolution. So I think the word isn't used when we have evolved. I think words naturally fall out of favor when, like, if women were actually treated equally and empowered, and we had 80% women in the Senate instead of men, I think, words like that wouldn't even be
what
used.
What did you just say?
80%
when we've evolved equally, when we have 80, is that your idea of equal? And therein lies the problem.
Well, because there's a lot of inequality everywhere else, I'm just saying. Okay, 50-50. But it has to be 50-50 everywhere. Because everything else fucking sucks. So, If it's 50-50, okay, I'll give you 50-50. If it's 50-50, then I think the C word isn't even used. Right?
But wasn't
because
it
just
like...
falls out of favor.
Yeah, but who's the French writer who... Sade, right? No, Mark... Who wrote really erotic stuff, but it was like so crude, you know, talking about anal sex and oral sex and stuff back in 1700s or something. And anyway, that word, the C word, I've seen in erotic writing a lot of passion, a lot of positivity in it, if you're open to erotic writing.
Yeah, well, I think there's time and place for that. So, like, the C word in general wouldn't be used as something you call somebody. You're using it negatively. She's being a cunt. It's being used negatively. But if you're using it positively in a certain situation sexually, then the meaning, words have meaning.
But why is that more loaded than bitch?
Because, I don't know. It's just... It's society puts weight on certain words.
But society, we are society. Society's not this like element.
Okay, we put weight on certain words. We put weight on certain words. So I don't know why. It's just what is. And so we respond to what is. I mean...
But that's what I mean. If we put the weight on it, we can also take the weight off.
Right. So we have to evolve and we have to be kind in the process of taking the word out of it, or having the word fade out and us evolving. I think in that process that happens, it's the mindfulness that we use to ensure that I'm going to be as kind as I can to my sistren and brethren. Then eventually, before you know it, things have evolved, and then certain words lose their weight and they fall out of favor. Or they get used only in certain contexts that actually have the potency that really brings alive their true significance in their like whole dynamic sense of what that word is. But it's not used negatively, or it's not used as a attack, you know. I mean, it's everywhere, right? It's the world over, in every culture.
Talking about duality, maybe as we evolve and we're more comfortable with our evil, our darkness, then we will be more at ease with all things, because it's like, oh, I'm angry now, I'm really pissed off. That doesn't mean I have to hurt you or anyone else. I can even maybe say, like, I am angry right now, and like it's not such a charge, like, you know, can't look at that, let's not look at that.
Right, like that's what I was saying to the student. I said, you know, we all have ways that we develop. You know, my ways growing up made me go inside, turn my emotions inside. Your emotions are coming outside. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It's good. Feel your emotions. However, when your emotions hurt another human being, then we have to deal with that, because that person doesn't have a right to be a victim of your aggression.
Have you found that you turning your emotions inside has created pain in others? Are there...
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's my responsibility, or has been, I take it as a responsibility, to work with my own self and to help rearrange my chemistry so that I can be more available, or know the right words to use, or when I do come out, is it really raw and I'm just kind of coming out with words and actions that are like not developed for human consumption,
holding it in,
or just because I haven't had practice. But I believe I have a right to practice that. We all have a right to just, it's all funky until it's not funky. It's not a wound if it's like practiced.
Right, so if we hold humanity in that big space, there's an element of, we're going to say things now and then that create pain. Let's get up, dust ourselves off. Right. Keep at it.
And that's what we try to say in the public school arena. Things are going to be said, things are going to happen, and these are going to be the consequences, and these are going to be the supports, these are going to be the resources, these are going to be your strategies, and we're here for the next time it happens. And in the meantime, we're going to try to create the safest space as possible. for ourselves and for you.
Feels good to end.
Feels good, yeah. Feels good.
You all right?
Feeling it, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, that's
We're
good.
All right, thanks, Kris.
Thanks.
For you.